Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this special figure showcase and review we're going to be looking at none other than the 1984 Autobot car Sideswipe figure. So in this video we're going to have a detailed look at him in both his modes. Help you decide how you want to display him. Because he's a vintage figure, I'm going to point out things you need to be aware of and show you all the accessories that comes with him. Because I'm lucky enough to have a couple of different types of packaging, we can have a look at the artwork and in fact how they changed his name depending on where he came from. We can also have a look at the other figures that shared the mould in the Generation 1 and Generation 2 toy line. We can then briefly discuss a couple of the other figures that shared the mould in the pre-Transformers toy line, and then we can see the other figure that was released of him in Generation 1, and finally at the time of making this video we can have a look at his most up-to-date version. So as you can see, loads to get through with this video. So as I start to pop all these back, I'd like to remind anybody who's not subscribed to the channel, if they'd like to hit that subscribe button for me now please, because it really will help me out. So yeah, this has got to be, I think, one of the most iconic figures, or at least one of the most iconic molds, shall we say. Of course, the Countach LP500S, and I did have to read that because I'm not great on cars in all honesty, but I do remember as a child absolutely loving how good the alternate mode did in fact look, and it still does to this day. It is fantastic. I am very lucky to have a few different versions of them, but all of them, they're not all perfect, but this is good for purposes like this video. I can point out things that you guys need to be aware of as well. Let's see if I can just get rid of a couple of these reflecting glares, because I've got quite a small area to work in. Right, that'll do for now. Let me just move that out of the way. So here's the alternate mode, and please be aware, if you don't know, the whole of this back end is die cast, so it is super heavy, and you obviously going to need to be aware to look for paint chips and indeed rust, because it can of course corrode. This one isn't the greatest condition. It still displays quite well in alternate mode, hence that's the way it is on my shelf, but you have got a bit of colour mismatching because of course the plastic's a little bit different. The wheels are supposed to be really sort of silvery, really chrome inside. Are they any better? Not much better, to be honest. It's quite alarming for me sometimes now when I do these videos and I get figures I've had for ages and didn't realise either how bad they were or how bad they've got, because I don't ever remember the white, which is another thing to look out for, ever being that yellow on this particular figure. So yeah, the chrome does fade away again. This is chrome, which is of course on the feet. The rubber unfortunately does perish. The windscreen does unfortunately crack sometimes, and indeed stickers missing, let's be honest, isn't the greatest, but it's still beautiful, and I still get a silly daft grin on my face when I hold this in my hand. I don't recall if I actually had this as a kid. I know I played with it loads with my friends, etc., but I can't actually 100% say hand on heart if I owned one myself, but I obviously always did love it. Because it's a 1984 release, the instructions for this are all in full colour. So what I mean by that is exactly what you can see. Later releases of figures from basically all of the figures from 85 onwards, if they were Autobots, they were black and white and red, and if they were Decepticons, they were black, white and purple. So it's really nice to have a full colour instruction booklet. There isn't really much more to say about the alternate mode apart from it is beautiful, and it was of course used for Red Alert. They just slightly retooled it, same as nowadays with all the other versions of these particular figures we've had. There's just a light bar on it, and I don't think, to be honest, there's anything different. Again, if I'm wrong, please do let me know. I do make mistakes, same as everybody else, but there you go. So this is the Transformers version of him, and what I say about that, what I mean about that is that he was a pre-Transformers figure known as a Diaclone. So there was a red, there was a white, which as I say we know as Red Alert. There was another white that was I've forgotten his name. Clampdown, is it? I think it is. I've just had a complete what's the word I'm after? Brain fog. These unfortunately aren't originals. I say unfortunately, they're still quite rare. These are eHobby exclusives, same as Deep Cover. And if you're seeing these for the first time, you may of course have noticed that we did have Generation Selects, and yes, I am missing the Tiger Track. That is one that is still eluding me, and for those of you who don't know, Tiger Track is exactly the same mold, just all yellow. So we had Deep Cover and Clampdown. They were original figures as well before they were Transformers, and shared pretty much the same color scheme which you can see there. In fact, funnily enough, I saw a black Countach sell on a Japanese auction site the other day for quite a bit of money, to be honest. So I don't think I'll be getting him anytime soon. Before we have a look at the details on the robot, I just very quickly want to show you the Generation 2 version of him, which funnily enough again is a black version. He comes with a crazy gun, but to be honest the mold is exactly the same. Let's move that out of the way, and then very quickly, I've just misplaced. I've just took his gun out of his hand because he doesn't balance too well with his gun. But this is another version of Sideswipe. This is the Action Master that was released in Europe, and this is still classed as a Generation 1 figure. And of course, he splits the fandom because he doesn't transform. Anyway, onto the main figure itself. Beautiful, stunning, doesn't do too much. I mean, literally the articulation on it, you've got the arms will spin around. You could, I suppose, class this as a bicep flexion. And does the wrist? No, the wrists don't turn at all. There's no movement in the waist or the abdomen. There's no movement in the legs or the knees. This moves, but that's only for transformation purposes. You can be super over the top fibbing or whatever if you wanted to, and call this like an ankle tilt or pivot or anybody to nod. It's just transformation. Again, so things to be aware of with this is the white. I've seen unfortunately how that looks compared to there, so it really does. And it's not always sun fade, guys. It's just the fact that white plastic's got this chemical in it that sometimes yellows, so some people will be more unlucky than others. Again, tyres on this is quite important. The silver on it is much better. The spoiler bits do actually come off, so that is something to be aware of. Funnily enough, there is a really yellowed rocket launcher there. So the accessories that come with him, this is another set of instructions, to be honest, just a different language, but the accessories that come with him are 3 bullets, which you can see there, his blaster, which you can see in his hand there, and funnily enough, it's actually on that page on the instruction sheet how they would come. So they come in on the sprue like that. There's the gun, and indeed there's the missile launcher. Talking of missile launchers, guys, this is where I'm going to actually ask some of you guys, some of my viewers, for help. And the main reason for this is I've got this new one. I picked this one up quite recently. This is the G1 version, which you can see there, which is basically means it was made in Italy. They changed his name to Faurecia. I'm hoping I'm getting that right. Probably completely butchered it. Everything on it is the same, apart from they changed his name. It's made by G1 rather than Hasbro. I love the fact it still says Transformer at the top. Transformer, of course, was like, I suppose, the Diaclone name for it, and it's got the 84 battle scene. Now, the reason why I'm asking you guys for help is because this is a strange one. Even on the packaging, it's got a rocket launcher. Now, to my knowledge, and in every single G1 figure that I've got, they didn't have firing missiles. So I know in the US they were restricted, same as in the UK. In Japan they had the full power springs, whereas the G1 figures, so all of my figures down to Optimus Prime, etc., everyone, the reason I've not used Optimus Prime is because I can't fit him on here. Instead of having a firing mechanism or a firing anything, they had a stopper. So can anybody please confirm, because unfortunately this didn't come with the instructions or anything else, if it had a stopper as well? I presume it did, and I think that the sellers perhaps just put they've just looked online and seen the fact that Sideswipe came with these. But overall, again, I'm not complaining, not moaning. I just want to know, and I'm really lucky to have picked up that particular box variant of it. This is a Canadian version, so you've got the US, so English writing, and indeed the French underneath. So G1 Autobot, Frero, I've probably again butchered that completely. So this is the Canadian version. Everything's pretty much the same. Again, just the fact you've got the dual language. Let me just spin that around there. The final box is the standard Hasbro. I'm not sure if this is, let's have a look. Let's see if it was a UK as a G1. Oh no, it's Hasbro Bradley, so it is a US box. And again, we've got that beautiful 84 battle scene on the back as well. Right, there isn't really much more to say about this guy. I suppose I could have brought in, like, you know, Red Alert, Sunstreaker, etc., but I'm going to do that all in separate videos. I just wanted to discuss Sideswipe by himself. The last thing to do, and this is at the time of making this video, and I'm hoping I've picked the right one, because there was about 12 uses of this particular mold during the War for Cybertron toy line. So this is his Kingdom version. And yeah, it was, yeah, exactly that. So this, the time of making this video, is the last or latest version of him. I've deliberately not gone through all the classics and all the other versions because we'll be here all day. So this is just going to round the video up right nice and neat at the end. This is Generation 1 Sideswipe, original and latest. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. As always, if I've missed anything out, please let me know. Take care.